My name is John Hare. I'm the CEO of a biopharmaceutical company here in Winnipeg, and I want to talk today about ostriches in remote British Columbia, which I'm sure a lot of you have heard about, the situation going on out there. There's an ostrich farm of 400 and some birds that have shown back in December to have had avian influenza or bird flu or H5N1, all the same. The reason I'm chiming in on this is because what those ostriches had been raised for was for their eggs, but the eggs not to eat, the eggs for the antibodies in those eggs. And it's research that we do here in Winnipeg the same. As a matter of fact, we have a registered veterinary biologic to treat E. coli, which I'm sure you're familiar with, bacteria in baby pigs. And that, by the way, was registered by the Canadian Food Inspection Agency, the CFIA, same group that's out there doing their job to try to cull these animals, because that's the protocol. You know, when you think about an ostrich, it's not like you're talking about swatting flies. An ostrich is anywhere between 200 and 300 pounds and 9 feet tall. So it's a big deal. And by the way, these ostriches have been, for the last 3 or 4 years, been used for research, collecting those eggs to collect the antibodies from them. And now the most interesting part is, because most of those birds by far survived this avian flu that they were exposed to back in December, they now have antibodies naturally produced because they were exposed to the virus. They have those antibodies, which, by the way, they deposit in their eggs. Each female ostrich produces about 80 of those eggs a year. Those eggs can now be used for research. And by the way, the U.S. government has weighed in. Both RFK Jr., who's the head of Human Health and Services down in the United States, and Dr. Oz, who's in charge of Medicare and Medicaid. Two high positions in the U.S. government administration. And they've weighed in primarily because it's not a Canada versus U.S. thing. They recognize the problem with avian flu. As a matter of fact, to bring it down to your own sort of easiest way to understand, have anybody been happy with the price of eggs over the last couple of 3 years? Well, I can tell you the reason for those egg prices being so high is the avian flu. And the protocol for avian flu, when it hits a flock of birds, layer hens, for example, that are producing eggs that you eat, you go in and you cull all the birds. But what happens then is you've lost a whole lot of birds that are product producing birds, egg producing birds, that now means the supply of eggs has gone down. And there's been millions of birds culled because of the avian flu. What these scientists in the U.S. are now saying, and by the way, we should be saying the same thing, these ostriches, because they've survived the avian flu, potentially have the key to solving the problem for avian flu. Wouldn't it be nice if we could save those birds, because they scientifically have a huge potential to, like I say, stem the tide of avian flu in egg production birds, which would obviously stem the tide in the cost of eggs. So indirectly, if we can stop the idea of eradicating these ostriches, we're going to potentially do some amazing things for science and for the price of eggs. The unfortunate part of what it'll look like if they go ahead and do this, and there'll be a lot of cameras rolling, won't be a good scene, especially when you've got some major players suggesting that this could be a solution. They're not trying to do it to go against the CFIA. They're saying, hold on guys, there might be some real good evidence that science could benefit from by keeping those birds and their eggs and their antibodies available. It's just my thought. Hopefully we'll come to a solution for this whole thing. Thanks for listening.